Okay. Everything, she's not here.
Okay.
Share. Okay, presentation. We're halfway down. That's all right. We'll fix that. There now. There we are. Okay. Oops, so I've lost them. I got you on the side. So you can all see the screen okay? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yes, one thumb up, two thumbs up, three thumbs up. Great, excellent. So this I'll quickly run through what our objectives are for today. The idea is it might be a little bit different to what you saw in the paper, but it's a presentation I've given before for Trellis. And so it's basically trying to help you get ready to work with your NGO. Maybe a little bit about what does it mean in terms of identifying problems and recommendations. We're going to very quickly look at communication options. And perhaps the most important thing is we're going to finish in 50 minutes. What do you think? Yeah, okay, excellent. Very quickly, I don't know, are we able to do this? Can we quickly run around and have people very, very quickly, your name, the name of the NGO you're going to work with, the country where you'll work will happen, and any comments on today's objectives, and I want to know what the weather is like in your location. Okay, so let's start with Timothy.
Hi, I'm Timothy, and I'm here in Florida. And here in South Florida, it's like 2 hours away from Miami, so it's very warm here, very, very warm. And I think we're in upper 80s now.
Okay, that's enough. We don't want to hear any more of the weather. What's the name of your NGO and the country you're going to work with?
I will be working with the tomato growers in Ghana. So I forgot the name of it's a research institute that work with the tomato growers in Ghana. And I've been in contact with them for a couple of days now. We've been exchanging email.
Okay, excellent, good, thanks. Let's move on. I'm just picking names randomly off the list. Tiara?
Yeah, hi, I'm in Hawaii. The name of the NGO is Card Nepal, and that's going to be in Nepal. And today's objective, yeah, I've had good communication with my organization, and I'd like to learn how to get better.
Okay, thanks. And weather?
Oh, the weather is pretty nice, just like close to 80 degrees here. Nice Hawaiian weather.
Are you at Manoa?
Yep, Manoa.
Okay, my daughter's doing nursing there, so.
Oh, wow, cool.
Excellent. So, great, thanks a lot. Is Brad there or not?
Yeah. I am here.
Great.
Yes, hi, my name is Brad. I am working with the National Forestry Resources Research Institute, I think, or Resource Research, something like that, in Uganda. And I will be working with a group that is doing some pest control of fruit flies on mangoes there. So hopefully figuring out a management strategy for the fruit flies in the mango orchards. I have been in contact with them. I've had some time getting a hold of them. I was in contact with them a little bit and asked for like a Skype meeting and things like that. I haven't heard back from them recently, and I will hopefully follow up with them maybe at the end of this week or this coming weekend.
Excellent, great.
And I am actually.
You're actually what?
I'm sitting in the same room as Tia here, so I'm also in Hawaii.
Okay. Right.
The weather is the same.
Yeah. Right. Let's just move along. Thanks, Pete.
Hey, how's it going? I'm in North Carolina, and it's like 67 degrees out. It's pretty nice, sunny day. I'll be working in Kenya with the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service. And so far, communication has been a little bit slow. So hopefully I'll get some insights today on how to facilitate that a little bit more easily.
Great. Excellent. Thanks very much. And then we got two here. I don't know if they can be heard, yeah? Okay.
My name's Nick, and I'm working with the Methodist University College in Ghana, and I'll be working on mangoes. And the communication has been great so far, and I have a Skype meeting tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to learning a lot more about communication with the NGOs.
Excellent.
And the weather here is great, depending on your perspective.
He's clearly an optimist. The weather here is miserable.
Good for the drought.
Okay, yeah, good for the drought. Yeah, Zach.
I'm Zach. I'm working with Green Shoots Foundation in Cambodia. And yeah, looking forward to learning more about how to communicate the issues going on in Cambodia.
Okay. And I think we've got one more, yeah?
Is Ethan there?
Do we have Ethan?
Looks like you're muted, but I'm not sure if you can hear us or.
Ethan's from where?
Ethan's also. Maybe Ethan is not able to hear us, but.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll move along. Thanks, everybody. We've got your list of organisations and stuff there at the moment. This is what you put up there. Does anybody wish they were going to a different country?
Don't say so.
I wish I was going to Cambodia. Okay. A quick question, and why is it called trellis?
Providing support.
Providing support. I believe that's basically it. Yeah, it goes way back to the early days when it was formed. So when we're talking about communicating with your organisation, it's not just about the physical communication of is it Skype or email. We'll touch on that at the end, but really it's more about what you're communicating and what you know about them and communication one way or two way. Obviously two-way, so the whole thing is what do you need to know about them and what do they need to know about you. So that's essentially what we're going to try and run through today. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So we're going to move along. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at the audience, your partner NGO. We're going to get a sense, do you really have a clear idea of what they want? And that's going to be important in your follow-up discussions. Oftentimes people write stuff and get the grant, and then when you arrive you find they're actually interested in something quite different. So it's going to be really important that you don't assume what is written originally is what you're going to be doing. You really want to, part of your communication is going to be about really clarifying what they want. Then we're going to think about, well, what do you have to offer? And then finally we're going to think about some of the elements that go together making a good team, because that's in essence what you're trying to do. You're trying to move into country and be part of their team. And then we'll think briefly about the evaluation of your progress and how you might modify. So let's quickly run through it. Audience. So you got the sheet here. What we're about is, you've got the handout here, and you can fill it out now or later as we go through, but have you been able to find out information on your organisation? Just give me thumbs up if there's a clear website. You got, yeah, mostly. Timothy, you got clarity on who your organisation is? Yeah, good, okay. And for some reason I can't see everybody on this, so I'm assuming we're getting thumbs up everywhere. But you're really wanting to find out who they are, what's their mandate and focus, how big they are. Why do you think size matters? Anybody who wants to jump in?
Capacity.
Capacity, yeah. Partly is capacity in terms of their existing expertise and what you might be expected to do. If it's a really tiny NGO, then you could be called in to do all sorts of stuff that you didn't expect. I'm sorry, I'm just going to send a message and say I'm not here. Do you have a clarity on their audience? Who are they trying to address? Who are they trying to reach? Have you been able to find information on their track record? What do you know about them in essence? How well established are they? How well they are viewed in the communities? Because that's who you're going to be associated with. It doesn't matter how good you are, you're going as a representative. You're going to be there in essence as a representative of your university, yes, but you're in the community as part of their organisation. So you want to try and get a sense of what their track record is and how they're viewed in the community. Also get a sense of how they're funded and structured. Again, anybody, why does that matter? Jump in, I don't care. If you've got a comment, jump in. Why does it matter how they're funded and how they're structured?
Essentially the goals that they want to see and the interests they have.
And again, it goes back to like their flexibility and capacity. Just, it'll give you a sense of what you can realistically hope to achieve with that. Another thing you want to consider, which has been a big issue in the past, is where do they get their information? Many times, and this is one thing that I think you can take that is a pretty powerful thing to help them, is depending on this, the focus of your topic, are you familiar with really solid knowledge resources that you can share with them, particularly websites? And so as you think about their mandate, their focus, really be pulling together now resources that when you're in country you can share with them. And you might even want to consider taking some hard copies of some of the key materials. Then another thing is just try and think about what their mode of operation is. What do I mean by that? What might mode of operation mean? How might it differ?
Well, for example, my organization is strongly affiliated with the local university, so we are going to work closely with the professors there. Okay,
excellent. Anybody else? Do you know the mode of operation of your organization?
So mine is setting up a workshop with mango farmers, but it sounds like it's on the actual campus of the university where they have test plots.
Okay.
But this is fairly far from the province that they're targeting. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out.
And one thing, how many, I think a number of you are affiliated with universities, yeah? And going back to the mandate and the focus, many of the universities, are they similar to the land grants or do they differ?
So actually, there's only one university, but there are a number of government agencies.
Okay, government agencies. So the question would be, for your organization, is it research or is it extension? And again, asking that, why is that question particularly important in a developing country context? How many of you are with a research organization? Yeah, Timothy is?
I think mine is the combination of both, both research and extension. Right. And so that's the notion that I'm having. I've not really have the communication with them. Our first Skype meeting was supposed to be tomorrow.
Okay.
But we, so I've not really got out of them. But with what I see, I think it's going to be the combination of both.
Excellent. And one of the things I just would encourage you is to really clarify that, because in my experience, many organizations that do research do not do extension and vice versa. And so that can have a pretty big impact on what you think you're going to try and do and what you think you're going to try and achieve. So, okay. So really, any other comments of stuff you think you might want to know about your organization? Anybody? It's all pretty basic stuff. Like I'm not giving you any rocket science stuff here, but I think they are important questions to help you sort of appreciate a bit more the reality of what you're going into. It's very easy to assume, and I think you want to be asking questions. You know, we'll get to it, asking questions politely, but also seeing what other information you can find online. Okay, let's keep moving ahead. So what do they want? So here, we're on page 2 for those of you who have the outline. You know, what I'd be interested in is can you articulate very simply what is the project meant to achieve and what are the target outputs? Do you feel you can do that? And if you can, then jot it down and use that when you talk with your organization. You know, it's that getting that clarity of what you think you're trying to achieve and how it matches with what they're after is going to be really important for your success. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes if you want to scribble stuff down there, and your scribble might be, I need to confirm this. Anybody want to tell me what the difference between an output, an outcome, and an objective is? I hate the terminology, but sometimes it's useful to think about it. Anybody want to hazard a guess? Objective, output, outcome.
Objective would be a goal. Outcome would be like training something not really physical, and then output would be something maybe physical.
A good guess, but it probably depends on which definition you look up. The way it tends to be interpreted in the development thing is the objective is in essence, you know, we will, you know, at the end of this we will have done X, and I would suggest you look up how to write good objectives. The output is how you know you've been successful. If the objective was to hold a workshop on fruit flies for mangoes, okay, then you've got an easy. The output is what? The output is you did the workshop, that you have that. The outcome is the result of what you did. So you had the workshop, and then it's so what. So that would be typically classified as what an outcome is. And obviously, what we're about in development work is we actually want to get to that outcomes. So the output lets us know we've done it, but the outcome is if you like, in a sense, the impact of what we've done. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on that? Move on. Yeah. Great. Thanks. Thumbs up. Help me. So what do you have to offer? So this whole thing, this development game, if you like, is you might have something to offer, but how does that relate to what they want? And so this is, like I say, this is not a rocket science, you know, template that you're working through here. It's just trying to make sure that you've got a match and you've got clarity of understanding. So in this stage, you know, think about if you're clear on what they want, if you're clear on what the outputs are, take a few moments in that thing where it says student role and say, well, what do you have to offer? And again, you know, like I say, I'll give you a minute or two to fill in some things here, but I would really be suggesting that you use this when you communicate with your organization. Okay, we're good to go? Yep, I see some nods. I see some people still writing, so let's just give you a few more seconds. And as you're developing this, I'd really encourage you to use this as a template, because I really believe that this can help you be more successful. It's very easy to go in with all sorts of assumptions, and just being clear up front about what your organization wants and what you have to offer, and checking what adjustments may be needed. Or you might hit it smack dab first time, so you'd be fine. Okay, so we've looked at the audience, you know, trying to get a better understanding of who your partner organization is. You want to know really what they want. Again, I really encourage you in your discussion, really clarify that and say, is this really what you want? Then you're trying to say, okay, well, how do I match with that? So what do I have to offer? Because they could be, and a reason why you want to do this is there can be all sorts of, and we've seen it across the years. Well, what do you think the danger is? Anybody? Why is it important? You've got an audience, clarify that. You want to clarify what they really want, and then you want to clarify what you have to offer. Why do you think it's important to go through that process?
I think this is going to be very important for preparation, because if you know what the audience wants, you have to prepare yourself to meet that task. And if you know that you don't have enough resources beforehand, you have to look for what you're going to use to meet their expectation. and at the end of the day, we are working as individual students, but at the same time, we're working for Trellis Foundation. So that, because this is an international image, that must be protected as well.
Right, that's good. That's excellent. Anybody else got something? I think what I've seen is it's about managing realistic expectations. What we've seen in the past is that, you know, oftentimes there are organizations that all they know is I'm having somebody come from the US. And at times they honestly think they're getting the world expert. And I'm sure you're all really smart. That's why you were selected. But it is about managing those expectations and making sure they're real before you even get there. Because we have, like I say, we have seen in the past where the organizations have had wildly unrealistic expectations. And it's not that they're bad people. They're fine. It's just that was their understanding. So that's why it's important to run through this process. Moving along, let me see how we're going for time. We're doing well. Okay. So what we want here is how can you work together? So this is one of my favorite, if you can see it. This I was looking up, you know, images of what makes a good team. Clearly, this is not a good team. And so how do you avoid this? What do you think? You're going to go in and you're going to be part of a team. So what do you think is important? Just throw out some words at me very, very quickly. What goes together to make a good team?
Communication.
Communication. Excellent. What else?
Working together.
Working together. What does that mean? Sorry? What does working together mean?
Collaborating so everybody has their role and is supportive of each other.
Excellent. Role, so clarity of role and support. Yes, somebody else?
I think tolerance as well.
Tolerance. Okay, good.
And kind of going along that line, trust.
Trust.
Tolerance and trust.
Yeah, yeah. We'll come back to trust. I'll put an asterisk on that and we'll come back. Anything else? So we've got working together, which is a clarity of role, communication, good communication, support, tolerance, trust.
Respect.
Respect. Excellent. Okay. I think, yeah. Okay, I think we'll just go on here because I think you got the ones that I put down. This whole idea is, but I don't have there the idea of trust. And you know, in the last few years, I've grown to really appreciate if you don't build trust. Well, let me back up and ask you, why do you think I think trust is so critical? No ideas or don't want to say?
Because it's been an issue for you in the past, maybe not having developed that trust in wherever you were, I guess. And then not being able to fully work with people in that community that you were there with.
Yeah. Anything else?
It's sort of a two-way thing as well with the NGOs is likely relying on you to hold up a part of their workshop or their project. And on the other side of things, you're traveling to maybe somewhere you've never been, and you have to trust them to help you through that as well.
Right. Good points. What happened, how this came about, so there's, what I like about what you've said is that there's the dual aspect. You've got to trust them and they've got to trust you. And a large part of what this is, and what happened was over the last several years, you know, I do a lot of work on extension. I go and talk to organizations and I hear them talk about what's critical. And the organizations themselves keep emphasizing trust. I mean, and if you think about it, you know, what are we trying to do? We're trying to change what people do. We can go and talk to them and have a, you know, nice time and have a cup of tea or whatever. But in the end, what we actually want is for them to do something differently. And are you going to do that if you don't trust the person? And the obvious answer is no. I mean, in the same way, if you went to buy a car and you don't trust the salesman, you're not going to buy the car or anything like that. And so what we've seen is just, you know, organization after organization has stressed, if we want to be successful in working with others, we have to build trust. And so what I would really encourage you to do is well, you know, look up, how do you do that? And there's just some simple things, and I think you've outlined them here. You know, some of them, it's showing respect. It's being true to your word. If you're in a situation and you can't do something, what are you going to do? Do you try and wing it and say, no, I'm fine, or do you come straight with them and say, look, you know, I got to look into that more. So I would really encourage you as you move forward in working with your organizations that you think very, very seriously about the whole issue of trust. Any comments on that one? Okay, let's keep moving along though. We're doing great. So I have a question here. I'd like you to see how many of those would you answer yes. So just have a quick look through them yourselves, and out of 14, how many would you answer yes? Okay, we ready? How many of you would do more than 10 of those? How many would do 5 or more? So we have a couple of hands go up. Yeah, that's almost everybody. What's the point of this set of questions here?
cultural norms that you might violate? If you don't know
Cultural
them?
norms. And every one of these is a no-no in some culture somewhere. And so just as we set about thinking your organisation that you're going into, I know, for example, I'm originally from Australia. I live in California. You know, I'm not even sure I own a tie. And you know, it was interesting. I used to be here director of the Humphreys program, which brings scholars from all around the world. And I used to give them their seminar. And I remember particularly those of you going to Ghana. I used to walk in my jeans, and I'd have a button-up shirt. So of course I was very well dressed. And the guy, I remember one year, the guy from Ghana saying to me, Mark, I can't take you seriously. You're not dressed formally enough. You know? So really understanding where you're going is going to be really, really important. Okay. Any other comments on that one? So we've got a little bit more on that, the cultural do's and don'ts. Are you already, perhaps if you think about the countries you're going to, are you already aware of any perhaps cultural norms that you have to be cautious about? Anybody?
Kind of hard to find out.
Tiara first and then Timothy. Tiara?
It's kind of hard to find out exactly what the cultural norms are, I find.
And you're going to which country again?
Nepal.
Nepal. Okay. Okay. I used to spend a fair bit of time in Nepal. You'll find some cultural norms, I can assure you. Timothy.
Well, in my own case, I'm originally from Nigeria. So Nigeria and Ghana, we are kind of brothers and sisters. So there's a lot of things in common. So I can easily, adapt to Ghanaian. To Ghana, they can adapt to our culture. That's one of the reasons why I chose Ghana.
Okay. Are you familiar, though, since you know them both so well, are there any differences that you do know of? Just out of interest?
Well, not exactly, but I know that there's some maybe cultural, perhaps maybe celebrations that is different from what Nigerians are used to, or the music style, very what is it called? Their real cultural music and dancing style will be very different from what we have in Nigeria. Our food is the same, almost the same thing. Even there's some food that we don't even know if they originate from Ghana or from Nigeria. So we have a lot of things in common.
Excellent. Okay, great. And just to quickly run through, I think you touched on all of these, you know, about how you make sure you're doing culture, you know, aware of cultural do's and don'ts, and it's looking, it's seeing, respecting, it's honesty, it's listening. Why do I put having a sense of humor?
Helps you survive.
It helps you survive, yeah. Hopefully it won't be that bad. You know, what I find is that as much as I think we really have to be cautious about cultural do's and don'ts, people are very forgiving. And particularly if you can turn it into a light moment, you know, it just will help you. I mean, it's not making, I don't mean a sense of humor to make fun of their customs. That would be obviously wrong. But just having a sense of humor and being likable in essence will help you. And I would also encourage you to find someone who you can ask and just say, look, you know, because let me tell you, if whichever country you go into, there's all sorts of ways to get people offside. By and large, people are great, but you don't want to accidentally get someone offside. And so I would really encourage you to be upfront when you meet with your organizations and say to them, look, I'm new to your country, please tell me if I do anything that may not fit, that may not be appropriate. because there can be some pretty unusual ones. I think, who is it that's going to Cambodia? You're, like, and I'm not 100% sure if it's the same in Cambodia as Thailand, but in Thailand, if you pat a young child on the head, that's a real no-no. If you show your feet to somebody, the soles of your feet to somebody, that's a real no-no. So there's all sorts of things we wouldn't even do. If you leave your shoes on when you enter the house, well, you're the next best thing to being a pig. So really, you know, as I say, people are very forgiving, but show you care by asking people to point out if there's anything that you're doing that maybe isn't fully appropriate. Yeah. Any comments before we move on? Oh, we're okay. Right. Was that somebody's lunch? Okay. Another thing I want to encourage you is, as you move into this development, you know, assistance space, is the why question. And what do I mean by that? It's like, I think when we go in, we're the guest, we can tend to have this bit of an attitude, and I'm not saying you guys do, but I have seen it in others, that I'm here and I'm going to save you. And really, you know, what I always try to do when I'm in a community is always ask the question of why. Why would anybody listen to me? You know, why would they want to do what I say? And try and understand their perspectives. And I think if you do that, you'll move much further along and much more quickly to really making a difference. I mean, what we want is, we want you all to make a difference in the lives of people in the countries you go to. And I really encourage you to keep that why question with you. Okay. So I quickly want to touch on problems and priorities. And I basically just have, you know, two questions here. Well, how do you set, and what do you do if your views are different? So I'd just like to hear any comments you have about how you think you'll go about. Like, you're going to have this exchange, and the reason I have this up here is you're going to have this exchange and you're going to arrive in country, and reality still might be different to what you expected. And so there might be a need as you hit the ground to say, well, actually, you know, I don't see this as the priority. So how might you deal with that? How might you deal with it if your views are different to what your organization says? Any quick comments? Questions? Comments, I guess.
Is it possible really to adapt that quickly? You realize within the first couple of days and you only have 1 or 2 weeks?
So the question here is, can you adapt? Okay, good. And the question is, can you adapt if you've only got 2 weeks? And I would say, depending on the response of your host organization, if you say, I don't care what the new reality is, I'm going to go ahead with what we discussed, you may as well come home at the beginning of 2 weeks. You know, that's the whole why. Why will they listen to you? Because they see you respecting them and saying, this is what we really want. Any other comments?
I think when you're approaching these your organization, it probably would be good to balance both honesty and respect. So if your views, so express your views, but also respect that what they've put into this already.
Right. I think that's a really, really good point. Yeah, I hope everyone heard that. The idea of balancing your honesty with respect, and particularly as foreigners, I think we have to be careful how we phrase our honesty, you know. And so, yeah, it's a really, really good point. And I think if the order is respect and if you have honesty and respect, I think the order is respect and then honesty. Or honesty with respect. The other thing is that you want to be a little bit aware of is that oftentimes, because you are seen as the foreigner, you're seen as the guest. Many of the societies you're going to go into are remarkably friendly and very accommodating, and they won't want to be seen to differ with what you say. And so I think you really have to think, figure out, that's part of the building trust, so that you can say, no, I actually do want to know what you think. I do want to know if you agree with me or not. So that very quickly getting in and trying to build trust. And the respect, having the respect and the honesty is important. Any comments on that before we move on? We're going like gangbusters. How are we? Thumbs up or thumbs down or thumbs sideways? Okay, good. We're nearing the end, so of course we're going to have thumbs up. Okay, so very quickly, just a thought about how we do the evaluation. And this is where the importance of an agreed activity summary is important. Getting clarity of the goals, the responsibilities, the outcomes, because that becomes your basis for evaluation. That becomes your agreement with your host organization. And I really, suggest, I have a template on page 3, which is a single page, somewhere, wherever we are over there. Yeah, that's pointless. I may as well, I'm holding you up a blank piece of paper. I would suggest that you fill that out, and you even consider using that as your discussion document with your organization.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that next week.
Right. I do suggest you do not give them a 20-page document, because almost certainly they're not going to read it. They'll just say yes. You want something simple and usable and clear. And in the end, you want to say to them, look, this is what I see my outputs. If I do A, B, C, will you be happy? So that becomes the basis for your monitoring and your evaluation and your indication of success. We're okay there? And you'll notice what we have is, on that sheet, we have an output. And for any given output, you might have a series of activities. So the output might be a workshop, and obviously there's a whole series of activities you have to do to put that workshop together. You don't just put together a workshop. Yeah, there's a series of activities. And this can also help you by filling this out. This will also make it clear to you what you're going to handle and what you need your host organization to handle. So just being clear on that. Again, you don't have long in country. And so really trying to make it as clear and as simple as possible for everybody is important. Okay? But yeah, let's move right along. So we have that. So what have we done today? We've run through the audience, really making sure you know who they are and what they want. Really thinking about, in respect to that, what you have to offer, thinking about the elements of a team, and how you can become a part of their team. And then if you get those written up in a simple document, that becomes your basis for your evaluation. Good stuff? Terrible stuff? I don't care. You're on the other side of the country, huh? You can say anything you want. I don't get to grade you guys. Okay. So we've got those elements. I very quickly, this is my last slide. And I just very quickly, what have you been doing in terms of communication? I think everybody has, some of you, I think Timothy said you're Skyping tomorrow.
Yes.
Pete, you contacted?
Yeah, so it's been pretty slow, but through email. If it doesn't improve, I'm going to have to figure something else out, but right now I'm not too worried.
Have any of you, what I suggest you do early up is simply ask them their preferred form of communication. And I'll give you a very simple example. Those of us most of us in the room here know Alana. She's a UC Davis graduate, lives in Chile, and I've always communicated with her by email, and nowadays she goes, "You want me? You use WhatsApp. I'll get to you eventually with email, but WhatsApp I'll respond immediately." So I think just doing that, finding out what's the most prevalent form of communication in their country, and seeing if you can fit with that, I think is really important. And part of the reason for that is there's things that we don't sometimes think about is there's considerations. It's not just a preference, but sometimes it's a cost. I think I was dealing with some people in Vietnam at one stage a couple of years back, and simply them having to log on to access email was prohibitively expensive for them. So try and sort that out early. Just ask them what they prefer and try and pick that. Any comments on that one? What I'm going to do is I'll ask you for any comments on that, and then that's all I have to do for today, but I want to go around and give you all the opportunity for one very brief final comment about today's session. So first of all, any comments about communication?
Do you recommend, I'm going to be Skyping with the organization in Ghana tomorrow, do you recommend just dress as if you would be meeting them for the first time in person?
That's a really good question. The question is, you're going to Skype. Now, presumably they have bandwidth to do video, so that would be one of the first things to check.
Yeah.
And then the question is, how might you dress? That's a really good question. Timothy, you know Nigeria and Ghana. What would be appropriate? What's the best way for him to dress to talk to people in Ghana?
Well, I think just dress normal. Don't just like you say. Don't dress with when you're losing your shirt. Like you have a button shirt and you're losing it, and there's a chain or with a pendant or something like that. That's not a good sign for a West African. So you are giving them kind of a no-no. Like maybe you don't really care, but you don't need to put a tie. Just dress moderately. Everything should be okay. So, but don't if you're losing the button of your shirt, that is a no-no today.
So don't lose any buttons and don't have a gold pendant. Really good. Thanks, Timothy. That's excellent. Any other questions or comments on communication per se?
I know for Tia, you're going to Nepal, and you said it was a little hard to figure out the norms. We do have another student at University of Florida who isn't able to join us for this seminar, but she's also going to Nepal, and she's actually from Nepal. So that's Siddhikshaya. I think that's how you say it.
So you can put them in touch?
Yeah, we can either put you in touch, or you could just email her from the list if you want, either way.
Really cool. So Tia, you heard that one?
Yeah, what's her name again?
Siddhikshaya. She's going to the Himalayan Pearl Enterprise. So if you look on the contact sheet.
Let's go, we'll run back here. We'll make you all sick by flicking through all the emails, all the slides. Where's the names? Oh, there. Okay, so number
2.
Number 2. Can you see on the screen there?
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever you prefer. We can connect you, or you can email her. Either way.
Okay, I'm going to give you just that's it for me today. But I do want to give you an opportunity if you have any very brief observations about today or comments. It can be a comment on the class, it can be an observation, it can be a question, but I'd like to just wrap up with each of you having an opportunity to say something. So I'm going to pick on you, so be ready. And Brad, I can see you on screen, so I'm going to start with you.
All right, I'm unmuted now. I think that this was a really good workshop for me, particularly because it kind of revealed some of the gaps that I might have in my own knowledge. It's kind of given me a good outline of I want to be able to fill in everything on these worksheets, as soon as possible, and use this when I eventually have a Skype meeting with the organization that I'm working with. And I think that'll help facilitate our conversation and facilitate establishing what those expectations are.
Excellent. Thanks, Brad. Tiara.
Yeah, this was a good meeting for me. I've been working a lot with my host with just logistics of like, when am I going to come and where am I going to stay? And so I haven't quite gotten into the nitty gritty of what the project is, but we started chatting about that, and I'm going to be developing a survey and stuff soon. So I think I'm on the right track.
Excellent. Great. Thanks. Timothy?
Yeah, I think this is a very timely discussion for me, because I'm looking forward to have my first Skype meeting with the organization. We were exchanging email today. The plan was tomorrow, but it seems like none of them will be able to, so we shifted to next week. And this meeting today has actually helped me to know that communication needs to start upfront. The roles, responsibilities, and expectation have to be defined from the beginning of the get-go, so that with the issue of trust and other, by the time you finish with your program, you'll be able to, okay, this is what we talked about, and this is our what your expectation is, and this is my responsibility, and well, we have those kind of things. I think this is, it's good for me, and as well because I'll be meeting with them, so I have some points that I actually got from this chat section today that will really help me to really ask some very interesting question when I meet with them.
Good, thanks, Timothy. I'm not sure, we may have lost Pete, I think, or is Pete still there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, excellent, great.
My comments. I think a couple of points, I don't know, clarifying expectations. I think I'm going to find that really useful. It sounds like even though like a document, the proposal was submitted, sometimes the expectations or what they'd like to get out of this project sounds like they've changed or they have in the past. So anticipating or being flexible is going to be important, and really driving that down prior to travel. So that was helpful. Recognizing that this form and their objectives and anticipated outcomes are not set in stone.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to say, like, the initial proposals for all these projects were submitted like over a year ago, or about a year ago now. And actually Julia did a ton of work over the summer to try and clarify what your roles are. But again, that was like 6 months ago now, so things have changed. So yeah, this is really important.
That's your comment.
I think the research or extension topic was very interesting, and I hadn't thought to ask my organization if they'd actually worked with this population before, and what sort of trust there was between the organization and the population prior to starting here. So it was very useful. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, I think this was a good refresher on communication. Using that, I guess, more communication is a good tool for establishing a relationship and building trust. And I guess for everyone, if they have an hour to kill, there's a really good Freakonomics podcast on trust. And it's actually really interesting talking about the political and economic implications of trust and how important that is.
Did everybody hear that? So there's a Freakonomics
podcast, on trust. I think it's called Trust Me.
Trust Me.
I can look that up and put it on the smart site.
Okay,
Cool.
so they'll send you the link to that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Good. Julie, any comments?
I don't think so.
Great.
I'm interested to see how many of you find that WhatsApp is a preferred method of communication. And the people that I've been in contact with, mainly in Latin America, it's huge, and it's so recent. So I think that's super cool. I thought that was interesting. I imagine it's a good number of you, so that's cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The preferred mode of communication is shifting back and forwards fairly quickly. So it'll be interesting to see what you all find is preferred. Okay, thanks very much, everybody, and good luck. I think I might have another session with you at some stage, and I look forward to it. Have a great rest of your day. And I hate all of you that are in temperatures above 50 degrees. See you later.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Are there any general questions before we say goodbye that you want to ask?
Any general questions for the team?
Yeah, for the team. Gonna take the silence as no? Okay.
Thanks,
Great.
everybody.
We'll see you guys next
Bye-bye.
week.
All right.
Meeting.